I'm really excited for my next project. I am going to make a weighted blanket. Studies show that weighted blankets help people with processing issues like autism or sensory issues because it feels cozy and tight, and it really helps people process. So I wanted to make one. They're super expensive, and a great alternative is to be able to make one yourself. Now I picked up all my supplies for the blanket at Joann's, and then you'll just need a few kitchen items as well. So I picked out plain black cotton fabric, 2 yards of 46-inch wide. This is my main pattern fabric, which is a black and white and gray plaid. Also 2 yards, 46 inches wide. And then quilt batting. I would bring out all of your measuring cups because we need to figure out what ratio of pellets to put in our blanket. So we don't know yet until we do the measurements, but you'll need measuring cups. You'll need some type of a scale, a bowl. Now if you don't have these, don't worry. You just have to do a little bit of extra math to figure out your ounces. And then you need poly pellets. Now I found these rather large bags at Joann's. They come in 6-pound increments, and if you use your coupons, you can get them for a steal. Normally they're $25, and their normal coupons work on the poly pellets. And I was able to use a coupon on both packages. What we're gonna do first is figure out how many pellets we need per square. So how we're going to construct this blanket is we are going to sew horizontal and vertical lines to create squares or pockets where the batting and the pellets will stay. So I chose this pattern to help with my lines. If you don't have a pattern like this, you will need extra marking pencils and a ruler or tape so that you can make your own grid. I would use disappearing ink if I didn't have this pattern. But since I already have a pattern, I do not need to mark my squares out. So it skips a huge time-consuming step. So I counted all my squares. Now I do not want to use the outside squares because I'm going to fold it over, and that's what I'm going to use as my hem. So I'm only using the squares that are 1 square in and 1 square down. Does that make sense? Just the middle squares. So if these two were my outside squares, then I would only be using the center one. But since I have 10 wide, I'm only going to use 8. And I have 13 long, but I'm only going to use 11. So 8 by 11 is 88 squares. So now you want to use, it can be from 5 to 10% of a person's body weight. So that's a wide range. You can go on the lighter side and do 5% of the person's body weight, or you can go on the heavier side and do 10. So I'm going a little bit more. I'm going on the light side, but not the lightest that I can go. I'm going with 12 pounds because I have 2 bags of 6 pounds. I have a formula that will transfer it from pounds to ounces to blanket. Okay, so I have 12 pounds of pellets, and when I convert that, it's 192 ounces. So I take 192 and I divide it by how many squares I have, which are 88, and it brings me to a total of 2.2 ounces of pellets per square. So I'm going to use a scale. I placed a bowl, just a regular plastic bowl, and I am pushing the tare button, and I'm going to add pellets until I reach 2.2 ounces. There we go, 2.2. And I used about a half a cup of pellets. So 2.2 ounces is 1/2 cup of pellets. Now that we figured out the pellets, we're going to move on to constructing the blanket. What we're going to do is we're going to put our bottom fabric down. We're going to put the batting on top of it, and then we're going to lay the top of the blanket on top. And you're going to want to pin it all, because the next step is going to be sewing your columns. And what we're going to do is we're going to sew all of your vertical columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns all the way down, so that we can start filling these up square by square. Make sense? Let's do it. have pinned every intersection so that my batting and my backing don't move when I sew. Okay, so I have sewn all of the vertical lines, and now I'm gonna go and I'm going to sew just the bottom row. So all of the vertical and just the bottom. Because what I'm going to do is row by row, I am going to insert the beads from the top in each column. So 1/2 a cup, 1/2 a cup, 1/2 a cup. I'm gonna push them all the way down, the pellets down, until they're in the bottom square. And when I have a whole row full of pellets, then I'm going to sew this line. And I'm gonna start the process over. 1/2 a cup of pellets, 1/2 a cup of pellets, 1/2 a cup of pellets until the whole roll has been filled, and then I'll sew the top up. So I'm working by horizontal rows all the way up. And when I get to the last row, all of my pellets should be put in, and then I'll be ready to bind it. I would suggest putting the pellets between the batting and your top fabric so that when you lay the blanket on your body, there's a cushion between you and the pellets. Does that make sense? So make a hole between the top fabric and the batting when you drop in the pellets. So put them in the top and shake them all the way down. So now I'm going to sew the top of this row. You know what? I'm going to do it the other way since it's smaller. One row done. Keep repeating until all the squares are filled. All right, so each of my squares has been filled with the poly pellets, and now I just need to hem the edge, and I am just going to do a simple roll once, roll twice, just like at the bottom of a skirt or a shirt, just a regular hem. Roll once, about an inch, roll twice, about an inch, and then I'm going to zigzag across the seam. Now when I get to corners, I'm going to do a mitered corner. I'm going to show you on a piece of pink. This is the back side of the quilt. What I'm going to do is fold it down so that when I do my roll one, roll two, it lines up, okay? Roll one, roll two, It lines up and you have this cute, neat little corner. And I will zigzag across this and then just keep going zigzag across the rest of the seam. Super easy, very simple hem. I'm going to move my stitch width to a 5. It's really heavy until you put it on your body, and then it kind of like spreads out so it evenly distributes the weight. It's super comfy. Let's try it on. Oh,